Overthinking is the art of creating problems that weren't even there and the art of turning a fly into an elephant, only to have you wonder 5 years down the line what you actually worried about, if you even remember it at all. If you find yourself caught in endless loops of worry, rehashing past conversations, or getting stuck in analysis paralysis, then you're probably overthinking. And in this series, we have so far explored the self-sabotage types of the perfectionist, the excuse finder, the inner critic, and the people pleaser. Obviously, today we're talking about the overthinker. But I also wanted to point out that maybe you have found that you're not just resonating with one of them, but with several, or actually even all of them. And that's actually totally normal. We all, in fact, have all of these self-sabotaging tendencies. Some might just be a little bit stronger than others, or only come out in certain situations or around specific people. If you want to find out your main one, I do have a quiz linked in the description box below. It's totally free, no sign up required. It will tell you exactly which one is your main type. But for now, let's get into the overthinker type. So the overthinker is someone who tends to dwell on their thoughts, often replaying past events or worrying about future scenarios. And this isn't just about being thoughtful or reflective. It's about getting literally stuck in your head, analyzing and reanalyzing every little detail to the point where it becomes paralyzing. So overthinking can make even the smallest decisions also feel overwhelming and create a sense of mental and emotional exhaustion. So for overthinkers, it's like their brain has no off switch. They constantly second guess themselves, ruminate over things they said or did, and can't help but imagine worst case scenarios. So everything going to the shits. This kind of mental overactivity can then lead to heightened anxiety, stress, and a lack of presence in the moment. Overthinking itself often stems actually from anxiety and fear, or also a need for control. So it can be a way of feeling prepared or to try to prevent mistakes or negative outcomes. So it also can come from a fear of failure. For example, if you grew up in an unpredictable or high pressure environment, overthinking might have been your way of trying to anticipate and prepare for what could go wrong. Ruminating or continuously thinking about something distressing can give us then a false sense of control, as we might think we have this whole situation, this whole challenge or problem in our control, and we can somehow solve this problem by avoiding future pain. But the truth is, ruminating rarely leads to the actual solutions because it just keeps us stuck in a loop of negative thoughts. Overthinking doesn't just make us feel bad. It's also robbing us from our ability to take action. This is why it's called overthinking, because we're stuck in this thinking mode. So we get so caught up in this and thinking about what to do or how to do it perfectly that we end up doing nothing at all. Some other common signs of overthinking behavior patterns could, for example, be laying awake at night, having those 3 a.m. frenzies, replaying events. So if you find yourself going over conversations or situations in your head where you're supposed to be sleeping, wondering if you said it right or did the right thing, if you used the right tone, or if you would have said this, then maybe the person would have reacted differently. This is a sign of overthinking. Or you might also just imagine worst case scenarios. So you might tend to focus on what could go wrong rather than what could go right. For instance, before a big meeting or presentation, instead of feeling excited, you might be consumed by thoughts of what if I mess up? What if they don't like my ideas? What if I trip over my words? What if I don't say this right? What if they're just silent and there's no feedback? What if I want to be interactive and they don't do anything? What if they hate me? What if they throw tomatoes at me? This is worst case scenario thinking, okay? And it can also be shown in struggling to be present. So overthinkers often have a hard time staying in the moment because their minds are either stuck in the past or worrying about the future. So you may find it hard to focus on what's happening right here, right now, because your thoughts are racing off somewhere else, meaning you are not able to really take in what is around you. Now, there is another self-sabotage type called the analyzer. Whilst they have lots of similarities, I do want to make clear there are some very clear distinctions between overthinking and overanalyzing. So just in brief, again, overthinking is more the emotional part and involves going over the same thoughts repeatedly, often tied to worry or anxiety. And it's that endless loop of what if scenarios or regretting what you said last week. Overanalyzing, on the other hand, is more about excessive detail orientation. It's when you can't decide because you're weighing every single possible outcome or factor. For example, you might spend hours trying to choose the perfect font for your website, analyzing every option to the point where you can't make a decision at all. Both can be paralyzing, but while overthinking keeps you stuck in worry and self-doubt, overanalyzing keeps you stuck in indecision and perfectionism. And when it comes to running a business, it can show up in various ways, like constantly second-guessing your decisions about website, about your offers, clients, whatever. Procrastinating because you're trying to make everything perfect and look perfect, provide the perfect content, or getting stuck in what I call research mode as well. And I myself actually get stuck in that quite often, where you spend so much time gathering information that you actually don't ever implement anything. For example, imagine you've received a critical comment on one of your Instagram posts questioning your expertise. Instead of shrugging it off or responding calmly, you can't stop thinking about it for days if you're stuck in this overthinking, self-sabotaging mode. So you just keep replaying the comment in your head, wondering what you should have said differently, if you should delete the post. You ask your friends or mentor for advice. Maybe consider deleting the comment as well, or sending a DM. Eventually, you might also decide maybe you shouldn't share opinionated content at all and not be too bold because of the way it makes you feel. So this is like a protection mechanism of your body to just keep you safe once again. Then basically this one comment, this one person who you maybe don't even know just has derailed your entire content strategy and made you feel like poops because of overthinking. So this kind of overthinking not only drains your energy and focus, but also prevents you from taking bold, authentic action in your business. Or also if you work in corporate, it can be the same thing if someone gives you a comment on a presentation, on some work that you have submitted, right? So you become so worried that about what could go wrong that you never take the steps to make things go right. The question here again is, how do we break free from overthinking? And here are some strategies to help you get out of your head and into action. One of them is set time limits for decisions. So give yourself a specific amount of time to make decisions. For example, I will decide on this by 5 p.m. today. Once the time is up, you make your choice and you move forward. This limits the amount of time you can spend ruminating. The next one would be practicing mindfulness and grounding techniques. So this is a little bit more preventative kind of like work that you can do to get out of overthinking, because mindfulness can help you bring you back into the present moment. So when you notice yourself spiraling into overthinking, you can also take a few deep breaths, focus on what you can see, hear, feel around you, and bring your awareness literally back to the here and now. Then you can also challenge your thoughts, as with any of the self-sabotaging kind of like thought and thinking patterns. So ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it even true? Often overthinking is based on irrational fears or assumptions. So challenge these thoughts with logic and reality. What's the worst that could happen? And if it did, how would you handle it? And you might even find that you would be totally fine if even that happens. Then also obviously take small and imperfect action. When you're stuck in overthinking, the best way out is to take action, even if it's small and tiny and you may think it's insignificant, but just make that one phone call, send that one email, post that one post, do that one story. Just take one step forward, because action disrupts the cycle of overthinking. Then I also would recommend to almost create like some worry time. So if you're like, but I want to not I want to overthink, but if you're like, I get actually something out of overthinking, or I get something out of thinking about it a lot and spending time on it, ruminating, then give yourself worry time or give yourself overthinking time. So schedule just like a specific time of the day to think about all of that, to maybe worry about all of that. And if anxious thoughts pop up outside that time, tell yourself you'll think about them during your worry time. This helps just limit how much mental energy you actually spend on overthinking. I do want to say though, before you just dive in and try all of them at once, try one of them first and don't overload yourself and your system by trying all of them at once. Also, don't forget that you don't have to believe everything your mind tells you. Your thoughts are just thoughts, okay? They don't define you and they don't have control over you. you have the power to step out of your head and back into your life. So if you like this episode about overthinking, then please leave a like if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I'd love it if you could leave a rating or a review. It really does help this podcast to reach more people and means the world to me. And with that, I shall see you again soon with a new episode. Bye.